Hey, everybody. Welcome to Do It Like Danny. I'm going to tell a million stories, and maybe one will hit home, and you'll be like, wow, that happened to me. And it's not about me. Well, it is. You know, television is a very, very crazy beast. I learned so much at Tyra. This is real emotion. This is something that I experienced.
I want the world to see what I have always seen, and that is the love that you have for just being yourself.
I love this person who knows who he is, who can make people laugh.
I think the script I gave you was a little bit different, but I'll take that.
Okay. Sorry.
I'm drinking at work because it's my show. I drink on my show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to my Wednesday.
No, it's just Wednesday
oh,
now.
Shit. Today's just Wednesday.
It's just Wednesday.
It's just Wednesday. Oh, my God. I'm so behind. It's very early.
Very early.
Excuse the puff. And I got a pimple on my nose. Oh, God. Is this where you wear makeup now?
Why would you draw attention to that, though?
Because someone's going to point it out. They're like, what's on your nose? I might as well beat him on the punch. It's always better to tell on yourself first.
I guess
you know what I mean?
True. So, should we break into what actually happened?
Oh, yeah. So people were like, oh God, I got all sorts of messages. My family was like, oh, my God, what's going on? What's happening?
Everybody.
I'm going to blame you.
Everybody.
It was your idea. Listen, it was your idea. I say yes to a lot of different things. And when you sent me the clip, I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. I like that. That's good. I would have liked to see my face in it, though, too, like somewhere in there, so people still knew that it was a part of the show.
Yeah.
But other than that, like a little popsicle stick of like, 'cause I can't talk, something funny. But it was good. It was really good. I mean, we got a few messages, and you probably should explain.
Hi, so I got to explain this. Okay, so we had an episode ready, completed for the most part.
Well, we should probably I hate to interrupt you. I'm so good at that, apparently.
But you told me
I totally am. Because you have to set the story up better than that. You can't just be like, So here's what happened.
All right.
So we had planned to record like we do every single time, every week, right? And in this particular instance, the weather, which is why we're taping earlier this morning. We always tape like in the afternoons. We have like really like choice, amazing lighting to highlight my puffiness and my pimple. So in this particular instance, this past weekend, it was like, I don't know, like 110 degrees. I know
it was 93, but go ahead.
It was still hot.
It was hot. It was really, really humid. That's what the main issue was.
The humidity was up there. So we came out here and started to just record like we
like
normally
11:30.
do. And we were all set up and we had a great show. Like, honestly, it's like funny to start this again now and be like, wah, wah, wah. Because it was like full of energy. It was fun and we were laughing. And I'm getting ready to wrap up the full show, which has gone over an hour.
Yeah, we were an hour and 12 minutes in.
So I'm starting to say like, oh, hey, it was great, blah, 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 blah. And Lewis says to me, D? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, hold on a second. And you got up and you walked over to my phone and you pulled it out and you go, your phone stopped. And I was like, what? And then you looked and you go, my phone stopped. And we both were like, what? So then, what people can't see is the electronics and the cords and everything. Sorry, Cousin Angelo.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went over to the power source and thought, well, maybe it like tripped or something.
Yeah.
So I shut it on and off to reset it, thinking maybe that would help. Now, here's what happened. Here's what happened in the chain reaction of things. First of all, my phone went out at 18 minutes.
18 minutes, yeah.
We were over an hour. Your phone went out at 20-some minutes,
24,
right?
24.
So we have this board. What is this called?
It's a Rodecaster Pro.
Okay, so we have the Rodecaster Pro that records all of our audio. So even if we had lost video, we still could have released the audio. But my dumbass went over to the electrical supply and was like, oh, I'm going to reset it, right? It wiped out the board and erased all of the audio.
That is correct. If you do not stop the recording, the memory card will not save it, thus killing everything we had done. So it was just kind of nightmare fuel.
So I was honest. I was like, I can't sit here and do another show. It's too hot. I'm done.
We were getting bit by mosquitoes too.
We're getting bit right now. And it's like so early in the morning. I don't understand why. I'm like, my leg is getting roasted right now. I'm going to have to go put soap again on my leg. It was chaos. We were trying to figure out like why the power went out in our phones. They were still on, but yet they stopped recording. And then I went over and killed the power and killed the board and killed all of our audio. So it was a chain reaction of events. I was hot. I was over it. I was like, I can't do another show. Like I'm like some celebrity talent, but I was like, I just can't do another show. I just can't. I'm so tired. Just pack it up. Let's just go. And then we went to my house, tried to figure it out.
Yeah.
And, mosquitoes were biting us. I mean, it was a lot.
It was chaos. It was
chaos. Even today, I'm like, oh, good morning.
So we came out to the conclusion that it was just the heat had destroyed both our phones. And after he had reset the board by accident, when I tried to turn it back on, it was giving me issues too. So the actual board was also hot. So it was probably the worst thing I could have done to say, let's record at 11, not really paying attention to the weather. But in my defense, you and I at Angelo's before have been in 100-degree weather, so I didn't really understand the difference other than the humidity was so high that day and there wasn't a breeze at all. And that could have been a huge factor as to why the equipment failed.
Don't know. I mean, honestly, like I don't know. I know nothing about any of that stuff, to be honest. It was just like, what is happening? And it was a good show. I hate when that happens.
I know.
Like, and people are probably gonna be like, well, then why are you taping outside? It's because I feel like, and to be honest, like I actually enjoy being outside. Like I think that like for me, this is where I draw my energy from. Like I don't like being inside. Like now that I'm thinking about it, I'm sitting back here, and my friend Linda has a beautiful backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so lush and it's just so comforting, and I don't know. I guess I really do enjoy nature. And you're probably going to be like, no, because I lived in New York, right? What a juxtaposition. The crazy, concrete jungle versus actual like foliage and jungle. And I do enjoy it. And now when I think about it, like when we go on vacations, it's like Greece and Mexico, like where the water is clear. And yeah, so I enjoy being outside. I mean, look at how dark I am. I ran into David. Oh my God, I ran into David. Speaking of dark, I ran into David at my local market.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, oh my God. My mom actually saw him first. And I was like, oh my God. She goes, David. And then he turned around. I'm like, oh my God. And so I said hello to him. But it was funny because he was with, I guess, like a coworker or someone. So we kept it short. But the funny part is he texted me like moments later, and he's like, you are so dark. I am dark.
Yeah.
I am dark. I swim.
That you do.
I swim. I'm a swimmer. But yeah, so it's just been a crazy week. I mean, obviously that happened, and then you came up with that really fun, crazy story.
Yes.
So now that if we ever really do get served, people are never going to believe us.
Never gonna believe us.
They're going to be like, whatever, it's just another ploy.
I will say this. You taught me that you wanted this show to be dramatic and salacious and juicy to keep people watching. So I always have to come up with something better than the last idea that I had before. So I was sitting at home. I was going to just make a video explaining what happened, but where's the fun in that? Really? Where is the fun in that? And I guess to some degree I'm learning how to become a producer and do all these things. And I thought that was a great idea, and it was funny. And it did get a lot of people messaging you. It did get a lot of people messaging me. Everybody was in shock. I am sorry. I know. I enjoy the jokes. You guys have to understand this is a comedy podcast at its core. Yes, there's a lot of heart in it. Yes, there's a lot of love in it. But we just want to make you guys laugh. So I hope that when you guys are listening to this, you guys go, God, they got us good. Because it was funny.
Sure. Then you'll be like, F you, I'm never watching. Oh my God. Yeah, I had quite a few looks at it on my reel. Quite a few. And people were like, what? I think a few people that kind of like know us were like, oh, it's probably a joke, right? Because honestly, like, how can you fault me? I mean, your mom said it best, which is like, how can I be faulted for giving my point of view, my side of the story? I mean, really, that's how it happened. It's not like I made this up. And I have proof. I have receipts. I'm Whitney Houston. I have receipts. It's not like I just woke up and said, oh, I'm going to make up these stories about the job that I had.
I also try to make it funny when I said the show could end people, and I got closer and closer and closer. If it was really that serious, I would not have been so goofy about it. That's how I viewed that. So there were little hints. Also, if you took the time to actually see what was up there for the cease and desist, I just took that off of Google. It's just some random.
That's a
cease
lot.
and desist.
That's a lot, though. If somebody were to zoom in, I mean, at that point, you're like, wow, they're fans.
They're Easter eggs. That's
They're
why I left them in there.
fans. Wow.
Oh, my mom's gonna be so mad.
Oh my God. She is gonna be mad. She's gonna be so mad.
Oh, and sorry to my other friend Danny, because he did message me and he came up with this whole big scenario. And all I said to him was, "You got to watch on Wednesday to find out." And he explained all this explanation to me. I go, "None of that is the case."
He spiraled down the rabbit hole.
He did it himself, and I go, "Oh my god."
That's funny. Well, even today, this morning, I mean, we're out pretty early, and it's freaking warm.
Yeah, but the
And
difference
it's coming into
is-
October. We're in September, but
The difference is that there's a little breeze, though. I mean, look, we're at 22 minutes or 19 minutes on the board, 22 on your phone, and our phones are good.
yeah.
So that day was just too damn hot.
Yeah, it was
It's
hot
wild.
here. And we were just out here. We got used to it. We didn't even realize it. I didn't realize it until, crazy. So we're so sorry. That's what happened. We had an actual show, and then Mother Nature decided she had a different plan. So we had to come up with a different plan, and Louis threw it to you in his crazy insanity. And yeah,
Hey, but you didn't say no to it.
I didn't say no to it. I thought it was very funny. You know, listen, unfortunately, I have that dark humor. I have to take credibility when it comes to that. Like, I do have a dark sense of humor, and I'm sure someday there'll be stories about me, which won't be true. Oh my God! Speaking of stories, so I don't know if you have heard, but like, this is just a quick like television tidbit. And so, Danny Masterson was. I know we probably should have Angelo doing it because celebrity Angelo, where are you?
Where are you? Yeah.
He's been busy. So I will just step in for him in the meantime. It's for Angelo's Celebrity Corner with a K. Ba-dum-bum, ba-dum-bum. And so Danny Masterson, who was on That 70s Show, was recently, was it indicted? No, what did he say? He was sentenced
Yeah.
to 30 years in prison for raping 2 women, right? I don't know the full story and all the details. I just kind of want to touch on it quickly because it's like, you know, now this is the issue that I have with today's society, these younger people, is like, you know, all these things are coming out now. You know, for instance, Ashton Kutcher was talking about, was it Hillary Duff? Hillary Duff and, he's talking about Hillary Duff when I guess on his show. Remember Punk'd back in the day?
Yeah.
He was young. And so I guess he said something about her, and I think at the time she was 15. And so it was, you know, very sexual in nature. And so people were like, oh my God, look at him. And this was like, God, when did Punk come on?
That was like
it was
before. I mean, I was in
years
high school
ago.
back in that
It was
time. So
years ago.
yeah.
I don't listen. I'm not trying to defend the behavior, but I do want to defend the fact that we're not perfect.
no.
Nobody's perfect. Why are these people coming and like now trying to go after and cancel people when it happened years ago?
In my opinion, they have too much time on their hands. No real control over their own lives, so they just they find anything they can just to complain about.
It's so crazy though.
If he was still complimenting like 15-year-olds in that way at his age now,
Correct.
I understand that. Now that makes sense. But again, 20 years down the line, 15 years down the line, it's like move on.
I agree.
Find something today.
I agree. I agree. If it was, listen, have I said shit in the past?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I'm older now. But I'm, you know, I've moved on in my life, you know? I mean, look at, he was married. It's just too much.
Yeah.
It's just too much. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that you should hold people accountable for something that happened 30 years ago. I mean, and honestly, also too, and like that people will be, oh my God, well, what about if I was raped? Well, that's a little bit different.
Yeah, that's
Like,
a totally different thing.
when you verbally say something versus the actual action, that's 2 different atmospheres, 1,000%, if not more.
Even a KKK member can change his mind over time.
Yeah.
And we've seen that. Are you going to hold him against something he did 15, 20 years ago when he was in the Klan and now he's totally changed? You know, it's like
It's you know, I just think that our society today is like, you should give people the opportunity to celebrate their rehabilitation.
yes.
You know, maybe they were like that, and then people could argue and say, "Well, people never changed." I don't think that's true.
No,
I
that
think
isn't
I
true.
think you do grow. You may not change, but I think that you grow, and I think that would definitely apply to myself. I mean, I will never change. I'm always gonna be crazy and insane, but I've definitely grown.
Yeah, you
in
change
terms
certain
of-
behaviors. You become
Yeah.
you become an adult. You calm down, your hormones adjust. Well, maybe a little bit. I don't know about you.
I don't know about that. Oh my God. Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, just to kind of keep it back into perspective, it's like I just think that with today's society, I think we all need to give each other a chance.
No.
Let people live.
It's
Give them
one
an
shot and that's
opportunity.
it.
Yeah.
It's like nobody can be famous. Nobody can have this. Nobody can have that. For me, there's a lot of energy to be paying attention to other people's problems that really you shouldn't be doing. Stay in your own lane. Take care of yourself first.
Exactly.
You know?
But then that's a good point. But then people could say, well, you asked for this. You wanted to be a celebrity. You're in the spotlight, right?
I guess.
What would you say to that?
Well, I'm not a celebrity, but I see what you're trying to say. They're humans, just like you. They're going to make those mistakes. If I took that person who wasn't a celebrity and made them a celebrity, I guarantee I'd find something in their past or in their present that they wouldn't like to be exposed either. Yeah, everybody under that microscope is going to find something.
Yeah, that's true.
And until it happens to you, you're not going to really understand.
True. Very good. Louis' wisdoms. Louis' Well, speaking of television, since we're on that topic already as it is, in terms of, people's behavior, and we'll be talking more about people's behavior on particular shows. Jimmy Fallon also, too. Jimmy Fallon got recently dinged because of inappropriate behavior, and I don't know when that took place.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like, it could have been very early in the seasons of the show. Again, very early. And the reason why I say this is because I believe that the alleged accusations came from someone who no longer works for him. Now, whether that was their choice or whether it was the production's choice, we don't know. That's usually how things come out, right? Either someone's disgruntled or something happened or they were fired, then the stories come out, right? Because you come out of the reality. I mean, you come out of what you believe is the reality. So I really haven't heard super detrimental stories to him, but he ended up apologizing to people on his staff via Zoom or whatever would happen.
Really?
Because I think because of the strike, he can't really meet them in person. So he apologized and said he was sorry if he ever embarrassed them or their families or, any of that stuff. So, I mean, he apologized. So is that good enough?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I think when you're held to that kind of a standard, especially when you're a late night host that has to produce something every single day. I mean, take this show. We do it once a week. He's got to do it maybe twice a day, maybe once a day. But that's for however many weeks that they do a show. And is there a break time? What is he dealing with at home? I also hear that he drinks a lot. So I don't know. Again, I don't hang out with him. These are things that you hear from the stories that come out on Twitter, the stories that you see are reported on TMZ and online. Who knows? Unless you work with him, unless you're him, you wouldn't know. And then how would you handle it? Because not everybody's going to be a good Tyra Banks host. They might be a talk host. They might be an Ellen host. He seems like he's turning out to be a little bit of an Ellen host in the sense that he's not very, what do you call that when you can't go up to somebody? He's unapproachable.
Unapproachable.
Yeah.
When it comes to that, my personal opinion of that is celebrity-ness. I don't know. That's not even a word. Gets to them. They surround themselves with yes people.
Yeah.
Perfect example, who I think is the best example of that in my entire career would probably be Beyonce, and then you're gonna laugh at this one, Julie Chen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Julie Chen. And it's so interesting because if you cultivate that environment and if people are always telling you yes, you really don't know right from wrong at that point. I mean, you could be wearing these rainbow fluorescent shoes, and if the people that you surround yourself with are yes people, then they're gonna be like, oh my God, those are the most amazing shoes ever. You should wear them everywhere, and not realizing that that's hurting you.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel bad for some of the celebrities because it's, in all honesty, they'll never have any friends.
Oh yeah.
Nobody's their friends. No one's their friends.
They just want something from them.
They just want something from them. Everybody's in it for them. Or, you those kiss asses who are like, oh my God, you're so amazing. This, that, and the third, who just want to use their name and say, well, I was the assistant to, Les Moonves or Julie Chen or whoever, right? Yeah. Just to put it on their resume to get them to the next level, which I can kind of understand. But there are people that were just born to do that, right? So Drew Barrymore also, speaking more television as we go further on. So apparently now this is a television episode. So Drew Barrymore has also been in the news as of like the past couple of days in terms of getting dinged by the press and by people and by the strikers, if you will, that, bringing her show back is rude. People will remember that, right? Like, people are throwing threats out. It's so crazy. And so somebody actually had to detail it and put a blurb and say, certain talk shows are subject to certain rules. So, for instance, like The Talk, they can't go back on the air. And the reason why is because they actually employ WGA writers.
Got it.
Whereas Drew's show, they don't employ writers because it's not really a written show. They do have people that write for the show, but it's a different a union,
like
if you
freelance
will.
kind of thing,
something like that,
where they don't need on all those restrictions. They can just come back whenever.
Correct.
Got it.
And so each show is subject to, and I think The View is also one of those shows where they don't actually hire real writers, right? They hire whomever, or their producers will write their scripts, if you will, which then don't fall in the guidelines of being in the writers union, but they can. So there's all these different like situations for every single show, right? And so if people don't know that, then you're automatically what we're talking about, our society just wants to cancel them, right? It's so silly. So I feel bad for Drew and her production. Listen, everybody needs money. These people need to go back to work. I mean, they need to figure it out. Fran Drescher just got reelected again. And so hopefully, like, they can move forward and they can figure it out. And, like, for all of the people that I know that are out of work right now, hopefully they can find some work soon and get back to it.
Yeah.
Because this is crazy.
Imagine if you were still there, too. That would be affecting you right now.
It would be affecting me. It would be affecting me, but I was smart. I saved my money.
Yeah.
Listen, I was very different than a lot of people. I don't run around buying Louis Vuitton and Chanel purses and all that
didn't they
stuff.
kind of bully you to buy a new car?
Yes, I did get bullied to buy a new car. I will say that. I did get
tell
bullied.
that story, but I remember you saying,
I did
telling
get
me
bullied.
that.
I got bullied a lot. And I guess you could say bullied, and they could say it was, it was mentioned.
Well, I mean, that's Hollywood bullying. That they mention it.
Yeah.
To you. Well, don't you want to go work out with us? Don't you want to hang out? Don't you
Yeah.
want to? Oh, shouldn't you have a salad? Salads are good here. Like they do that shit.
That happened to me a lot. It's hard being voluptuous in television. So hard. Oh yeah, people watch what you eat. People are saying when you go to the craft service table, and then there's the closet eaters, the people that serve themselves plates of food and then they go off and eat somewhere else, and that's really sad.
It is sad.
It's so sad that that's the kind of society that we live in. But then, that's television. You have to be perfect in your appearance across the board.
I would not fit in. I love to eat.
Yeah,
I'd be there
well, I
like,
love
you're gonna eat nothing.
I love to eat too. That's so funny you brought up my car. Yes, I was bullied into getting a new car because I was a producer and my parking spot was on producer row. Right?
So everybody had like Audi,
So it was
Mercedes,
like,
BMW.
BMW. It was, and then it was Honda, and I'm like, oh my god, I love my Hondas. Like, they were good. I had 2 Hondas in my life, and my first one I think I had for like, I don't know, 10 years, and that second one I had for like 13 or 14.
They're good cars.
They're very good cars. I mean, they went everywhere. The little hoopster. But yes, it really was like that. And I had like a really great parking spot too. Like it was like right there. And so you'd pull up and, everybody else had, Land Rovers or Rump Rovers or whatever you call those. And BMWs and Mercedes. And that's so funny. And and it's like Honda. And you know what? I would just drive around. I was so proud of it though. I was just, because I didn't really care. I wasn't that person. Yes. I got bullied into it, but I will say this. I got into a car accident and the universe was like pushing me.
Yeah.
So this girl rear-ended me and they gave me like 4 times the amount of what my car was worth. I had like over 400,000 miles on that car. Well over. I was going to hit like $500,000.
Wow.
And it was I don't know, whatever the year that it was. And it was like 13, 14 years old. So when they gave me that offer, and I didn't claim medical because, I mean, she smacked me from behind, but I didn't want to be that person. I mean, a lot of my friends reach out and say, hey, if you need a doctor, this, it's like, I don't want to go through all that. I don't want to go through physical therapy. I don't want to do this. I was fine. I was a little sore.
Yeah.
But yeah, she cracked my gas tank. I was still driving like that too. I'm so
Wow.
crazy. I was meeting my sister. I was on my way down to Laguna Niguel to go meet my sister for the pageant of the Masters.
With the cracked gas tank.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Have you ever heard of Pageant of the Masters?
No.
Oh my God, it's so amazing. We should go. It's so cool. So we took Bahama one year also
nice.
too. So the way that it works out is the Pageant of the Masters recreates masterpieces, works of art, and there's a theme every single year. Sorry, I tried to swipe away the mosquito. There's a theme every single year. One year it was like Galileo, and one year it was oh shit, what's his name? Oh my god, the guy that did Family Circus. All these different artists, right?
Yeah.
There's different, and the piece de la resistance is the very end. Every single year, they end the show with the same thing, which is the Last Supper.
Oh, okay.
And so if you don't know what the Pageant of the Masters is, it's amazing. They recreate these works of art and they paint the volunteers. So the volunteers actually get into frames and they show you, right? Lights go down, lights come up, and it's the Last Supper, and it's like
that's cool.
everybody's there, like they're real people, right?
Nice.
So then they go through how it's all done, how they paint people, how they get them all ready, and how they all practice to get into their positions. So in one scene, they show you this is how we do it, and the lights are kept on, and they show how they're like rolling, and how there's platforms, and people are like scrambling to get in their spaces, and then lights go down, and then lights come up, and everyone's all set. If you ever get an opportunity or a chance to go and see the Pageant of the Masters, it's really quite something. It's really amazing. It's so neat. And for some people, it's a one and done.
Yeah.
But for me, I would go every single year if I had the opportunity. Honestly, it's really, really cool. So Pageant of the Masters.
Pageant of the
Thank you for
Masters.
the plug.
Okay, let's go back because we
Okay.
were talking about how you got bullied into your car.
Yeah, so I got in my car. So I was on my way down to, like what I just explained, the Pageant of the Masters, and I was stopped. I was dead stopped in traffic, and all of a sudden it just went bam, and everything from like the front seat went flying to the back seat. Like I couldn't find my phone. My phone was in the holder. It like flew out. No, my airbags didn't go off.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which was great, right? But she smacked right into me. She hit me so hard that her like wedge sandal was stuck underneath like the gas or,
Yeah.
like in that area. Like she was trying to pull it out. Like she couldn't get her shoe out because she hit it so hard that she slipped.
Yeah.
And the shoe stayed, but her foot came out, right? And she was like, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry, it's fine, whatever. I took photos, videos, everything. We didn't really do a police report because at that point it was obvious that it was her fault.
Yeah.
And she had insurance, thank goodness. We need insurance. And I had insurance, thank goodness. And I ended up taking it in, and they said it's totaled, and I was like, "What? Oh my God, it's totaled." So I probably was without a car for probably 2 months. How was I getting to work? Now that I think about it, maybe
Somebody pick you up?
it was less than that because I wasn't Ubering. Maybe we were in hiatus. Now I'm trying to think. Oh my God, as I like my
Maybe
thought
we're in
process.
hiatus. That makes sense.
Maybe we're in hiatus because I didn't really need a car. But David actually told me and said, hey, man, he's like, I think he dropped me off. He dropped me off at the dealer. I had been car shopping. I had gone with Jeff. I had gone, and he took me in Dallas. I was test driving. I honestly... Probably
You're moving around,
I
yeah.
was, probably for a good 6 months. Because I didn't know what I wanted, and I thought if I'm gonna get a luxury vehicle, I'm definitely gonna make sure that it's exactly what I want. And I'll never forget, I was in Dallas, and we were at the Mercedes-Benz dealer, and I got into the car that I'm in now, and it was red, and I sat in it. And without missing a beat, my friend Jeff, walked by. I wish you could play it back in the movie of my mind. I literally sat in it and I was looking around and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I was like, enjoying the space of the car. And he just sauntered right by and he just goes, perfect. This is it. This is your car. This is the one. And I went, okay. And he's, girl, you got to buy it. And so that stuck in my head. So I came back and I drove like some Porsche and I did different things. And I was like, fuck, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
right?
you're going to do it big.
And I got back into that car and I said, this is it.
This is it, yeah.
This is it. And I love my car. I still have it to this day. It has 160,000 miles on it.
God, how long have you had it for?
Oh, 8 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is the 8th year. I got it 2015.
Wow.
And people get into it and they're like, "Oh my God, your car is like so nice."
It is a nice,
I
comfortable
keep
car.
it clean.
Yeah.
You know, I promised myself. So in my last cars, I was a hot mess. I had like, I mean, honestly, you name it. I had everything in the back of my trunk,
Yeah.
whether that be towels, trash, like water bottles. Oh my God, I can't even, files, paperwork. Like, it was a fucking mess. And I vowed that I would never do that again, right? And I haven't. So like Ange, I picked up the other day and she goes, "Oh my God, T," she goes, "Your car's so clean." And it's like, I don't want to have anything in there. I have like sanitizer and like windshield stuff and just like your basic cleaning supplies.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything in there. Like if they were to break into my car and steal, they'd get nothing.
They get nothing.
They
other
would
than
get
the
nothing.
car, yeah.
But if they had taken my past cars, like my Hondas and stuff, oh my God, my radio was always getting stolen.
Well, that's before when you could pull out radio.
Yeah. I mean, I got like my what do you call those bass, the woofers stolen, my
Subwoofers,
speakers
yeah.
stolen. I didn't want to deal with that anymore. I didn't deal with any of that. So yeah, so that's my story. Okay, so back to television. Sorry. We went all sorts. It's your fault because you brought up the car thing. And yes, I got bullied. I got
Because
car bullied.
I mean, it's what happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It's the culture. I brought it up because you would tell me these stories and they kind of stay with me.
Yeah.
So that I kind of remember, like, oh yeah, the shit that you go through, the little, they're almost like passive aggressive.
Yeah.
They say these things to you, and of course they stick with you.
Yeah.
You know, and you probably would have never bought that car if you weren't in that position or weren't in that situation dealing with those kind of people. You'd probably still be a Honda owner.
So you're right. That environment definitely cultivates you to become a different person. And I didn't want to become a different person.
Yeah.
I think I did lose myself at some points, but I quickly came back. And when you realize that you're not that person, you realize, I mean, listen, I got invited to a like a little mini birthday party? Was it for Julie Chen? I think it was for Julie Chen. I can't remember why we were there. It was someone's birthday, but Julie was there. And it just felt weird. I didn't feel right. And like she didn't do anything to me at all whatsoever,
Yeah.
so that we're clear. But I was with her inner circle. And they're all just yes people.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, one of them was, a hair person for Sharon Osbourne. And he had always been so strong and opinionated, very like me, right? And then to see him around Julie and her inner crew, he changed.
Yeah.
And, oh yeah. And I was like,
Does that rub you the wrong way when you see people do that?
it does, because it shows your true self. It
Yeah.
shows that you are a grifter and you should rely on your talent. You know, and I'm trying to think if I ever did that in a situation. I probably did.
Probably did, yeah.
I probably
think everybody
did. I
would.
probably had to change myself
Yeah.
to make people think that I was on their side, or, you know what I mean? And that's sad. That's sad that I had to alter my personality, who I was, and change my beliefs, because these other people would talk so much shit about all the hosts, and then to see them around the host, they were like, oh yeah, and it was just weird.
Yeah.
It was just really, really weird. People were like, God, you have too many weird stories. I have a million stories. That's so crazy. Speaking of thinking back, we have to get back in the story.
Oh, we're gonna go through it. I didn't know if we were going to today.
Yeah, we'll
All right,
do it.
let's go through it.
Let's do it. Let's do it, because I want to get it out there, and we have to give people something for your shenanigans.
I had to come up with something.
You
You
mean-
always told me you better learn how to produce.
we gotta give people something back for their time investment in being freaked out about us getting.
I just want to say your word, salacious. I didn't
no.
even know what that
I
word
said
meant.
funny. I said
Funny and
funny.
salacious.
I didn't say salacious. I don't think I want to be salacious. Salacious tends to be as false, and these things happen. These are real things. So we will get back to the mothers of the talk.
mothers, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. In our last episode, we were talking about Leah Remini's mom, Vicky, and I gave you all the juicy details. So we're moving on to this episode. She had her own little episode, and we're going to kind of combine a few here and there. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about Holly Robinson Pete's mother. Her name was Dolores, and I don't know anything about her background. We didn't research it all whatsoever, so we don't care. I don't want to give these women any more power or any more exposure other than I'm going to tell my side of the story. And my side of the story is, when I first joined The Talk, I was excited. I loved Leah Remini, and I loved Holly Robinson Pete because Holly was on 21 Jump Street. So in terms of being like nostalgic, like I was actually, I wasn't starstruck, but it was kind of cool because to think back, I'll never forget, I was living with Christina, our cousin, in Santa Clarita, and we would watch Top Model every single night, right? We were always watching Top Model. Like, that was our big thing. Oh, my God, Top Model's on, and we would go and watch it. And then to kind of fast forward, and a few years later, my boss is Tyra Banks.
Yeah.
That's the weirdest part of the universe, right? So to be watching like The King of Queens and then you're like in the presence of Leah Remini, you're like, oh, that's so cool, right? Or the same thing with 21 Jump Street. So to bounce around, it was really cool to be a part of that environment because, not only was I in breathing the same air as Leah and Holly and all the rest of them and Mrs. O, but now I like had their mothers and like all moms love me.
Do they though?
So I thought, Vicky. And I don't know I'll never know what Dolores thought of me, to be honest, because she was always very like not political in a political way, but she tried to be even Steven, and she tried to be kind, and she tried, and I say tried. I think that she expected everybody to be her servants also too. They were just the moms.
Yeah.
They weren't the principals that were on camera all the time. I mean, our bread and butter were the principals, the people that were on camera. And so these moms, and Dolores was definitely a show mom for Holly. So I'm going to say she was responsible for a lot of Holly's career. But in terms of what else she did in the community, I'm not sure. I know she was a part of like some motion picture society organization that like helped people that, were out of the business. Like she was always doing like, philanthropic things to kind of help further along and help people.
Yeah.
That I remember. Most notably she was known for taking all of the food out of the green rooms because she would not recycle, but she would go donate it. So then, of course, people would see her doing that. And if you didn't know that she was recycling the food, then people would be like, oh, my God, like Holly must treat her mom so bad. Her mom is taking food from all of the green rooms. So but people understand, here's the way it works out. When you are a celebrity and you're coming onto a show, before COVID, you would have a green room. For those of you at home who don't know, a green room is an area or a space where the talent will go when they're going to be onto a show. So, for instance, Louis been invited to come on the Do It Like Danny show. And so he will send his list of wants and needs. For instance, like J-Lo wants only white furnishings, or, if we could do it, we would do it, right? Some things were out of control. And some celebrities would either come super late and go right to stage, or they would come early and they would hang out in their green room, if you will. And there was a live feed of the show, and there was snacks and food, alcohol if you wanted it. And their entourage was also being there with them too. The producer would go into the green room. The producer would, go over all the questions that they were going to be asked, and they would get pre-interviewed, is what they would call it, and then they would get ready for the show.
I can't wait for you to tell us some of the most shocking green room stories, and I'm sure you have some.
I have a few.
Yeah.
I didn't really deal too much. Remember, I was the audience, so I didn't really deal too much with
talents,
but I did deal with entourages.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of stories there. Plenty of stories. Even one with Tyra and but whatever. We'll go. Well, I don't want you. You're making me jump.
I'm just saying. I can't wait to hear those.
I was staying on track. So green rooms, just to explain to everybody so they know what they are. That's kind of the gist of it. So everybody kind of comes and goes. So at the end of the day, if the people in the green room didn't eat their chips or whatever, to be honest, I believe they threw it out.
Wow.
Because at that point, it's like, we can't recycle it. We can't recycle the sandwiches. We can't, we don't know if they've touched them. We don't know if they've opened them and been like, oh, I don't want this, or you just don't know. I'm sure the sodas probably could have been saved, and they probably were like the waters that weren't touched. But in terms of the food, that had to be thrown out.
Yeah.
right? And I mean, it wasn't copious amounts, but it was enough. It was enough for you're like, wow, that's a lot of food they're throwing out. So Dolores took it upon herself to empty out all the green rooms. And so she would come and she would empty out all the green rooms and then she would take the food home. Well, rumors start to fly. I knew she was taking it to go donate because she told me, she would ask for, if we were giving stuff to the audience, she's like, are those going to be reused again? And if we weren't, then we would give them to her.
Yeah.
So I knew, but other people didn't know. And so when you are always being watched, all of the hosts and the moms parked in our back area, in one area. So you would see Dolores like putting all these things into her trunk. Well, of course, like I said before, rumors fly. And that painted Holly not in such a great light because people were like, oh my God, like poor Holly's mom. She has to go through the green rooms.
It's terrible.
To get food. And probably it goes to the family, right? So all these rumors, because that's how it starts.
Yeah.
People talk, like you said it earlier, when you have no life and tons of time on your hands, which some of these people did, what are you going to do? You're going to concoct these stories, whether they're true or whether they're not true.
Uh-huh.
So poor Dolores, she got dinged a few times, being made fun of. I don't know if they ever did it to her face. I just would hear the things that are going on behind the scenes.
Did CBS know she was doing that?
I don't know. There's a lot of things that CBS doesn't care about. When it comes to finances, probably yes. But I think food being thrown out, I don't think they care. There's a lot of things that are a waste here and there.
Got it.
Here you have the opportunity to change someone's life, but then they're like, we can't, there's no budget for that. But then they go, oh, we bought a $30,000 rug. And you're like, you cut my budget, but yet you bought a rug, and I say 30,000, but it was a high value, and it's never going to be on camera.
Yeah.
It's just something that the ladies are going to walk on, or like a credenza in the background that is when you pan through, you're going to see parts of it that was, $90,000. And people are like, okay. So that's television.
Yeah.
So going back to Dolores, the only great story about Dolores that I could ever have is she was always late. Always late. She was infamously late. And
what would you do for a talent's mom that was late?
Well, we had to fill the seat.
Oh, okay.
Because remember, at the end of the day, in the beginning, I got burned because I would leave it open because in my mind, they're going to come in, they're going to go to their seats. It is what it is. They didn't get into that loop because they would go to craft service, or Dolores would be over here talking to people, or she knew a lot of people in the business. So I would say 90% of the time, she knew our celebrity talent.
Oh, wow.
She did. She knew a lot of people. She knew our celebrity talent. And so she would be, kibitzing with them in the corner, or she'd be backstage and we wouldn't know she was there. So we would assume she's not coming. And then here she comes. And it was a lot of juggling. And I can't really complain about that because technically that was my job. And I'm not really complaining, but it's like, yeah, it was a lot. There was a lot of different little levels that you had to kind of adhere to. But the craziest thing that Dolores ever did to us was one day she came in a huff. She was late, shocker. And she took her keys and she gave them to David. And I'm pretty sure it was Dolores. I don't think it was Vicky. It was Dolores. And she goes, I parked in the red. I'm behind the stage. She said, I'm parked in the red. I'm behind the stage. Move my car into a spot. And I was like, we don't do that. And I grabbed the keys to David's hand. I'm like, we don't do that. And gave them right back to him. Like, you need to give this to the host assistant. Like,
yeah,
we're in charge of the audience. We're not valet people. I was just racking up those marks. The show was fresh and new. I threw Les Moonves off the stage, allegedly. And then now I'd be responsible for telling Dolores that we're not a valet company.
Which you're not.
Which we're not. So I told my boss, and he goes, oh my God. He's like, you were absolutely in the right. Send me an email. So of course, send me an email of everything that happened, the documentation. Right?
Yeah.
Nothing ever came to it, thank goodness. But still, after that, she was never really truly super friendly and warm, and now another Dolores story was we had Justin Bieber on. Mm-hmm. And so Holly brought her kids. All of the hosts brought their kids in to sit in the audience. And I'll never forget, I had sat the audience because the director was like, this is how I want it framed, this, right? Dolores walks in. It was already set. My sisters are in there. Like, if you see the clip, like,
yeah, I showed
my
that.
sisters are in there, right? And so she just walked in and she put the kids right there. And then Holly was talking to them, and the director's like, "What the F is going on?" in my ear. And I'm like, we sat it, right? And I said, "Dolores, we already sat it. Can we put them?" She goes, "No." She goes, "I want them right here, front and center."
Wow.
Yeah. So that was another one also, too, where, you know, the moms got in the way.
So when that happens, obviously you can't override that. But can a producer who's in charge of the shot, can they go, you need to get your ass up and move. You need to abide by what we already did. Or at that point, is it not even worth it?
That's a good question. So our executive producer should have intervened at that moment. But he was really good at never pulling the cord. Does that make sense? Meaning it was always somebody else. there was always somebody else that was doing the bidding.
Yeah.
Right? He was good. He worked at Tyra, and he worked at the Talk. I never noticed it at Tyra. They nicknamed him the Host Whisperer.
Oh, yes. You've talked about him.
Yes, I have mentioned that before. So moving along, I have mentioned it. I don't want to keep beating dead horses. So many dead horses this afternoon. So many. And so, you know, with Dolores, there was also Barbara. Barbara was Sarah's mom.
Yeah.
And she was lovely. She was always very kind. She was always very nice. She came late also, too. I mean... What can you do? What can you say? I'm always late. So
yeah.
I really can't judge. I can't judge. But I would never run up to someone and be like, "Here are my keys, move my car." Or maybe I have. No, I've never done that. But yeah, Barbara was great. Now, the people that Barbara used to bring...
Her entourage?
Her guest, that was a little bit of a different story. You know, David will be able to shed some more light because he'll probably remember all the names. In my old age, I can't remember the names. You know, getting older is kind of hard. I never thought I would say that. But I am actually forgetting more, which is scary to me because it's on the tip of your tongue and you know it's there. And I'm taking a few more naps. So Barbara was great. She would, always, give me a gift every holiday season, which I thought was very kind and very nice because at least she was thinking of us, you know, of me. And, they were past giveaways from the show, but whatever. I mean, listen, I'm not going to, complain about that. The fact that she thought about me, but I would say this. Oh my God. She would gift wrap those or whomever she hired to gift wrap the old giveaways to recycle them. Oh my God.
They're amazing.
Beautiful. One year it was like this big, huge, like hunter green bow and this like white pearl wrapping paper with these like pearls and hunter green accents in it. And I was like, this looks like something you'd get like at Macy's, like, underneath the tree, like the part of the display, and meanwhile it was, it's an old giveaway. But anyways, that's fine. Yeah. So Barbara, I don't have very many stories about Barbara. Other than the fact that, whoever she brought was always a character.
Got it.
And there were quite a few characters, but they weren't really mean. They just were above and extra in the way that, like, if you were going to a restaurant, they expected us to, like, box up their to-go food, and they expected us to, like, take their giveaways to their car and then open their car trunk and load them. And, those things, I think people fail to realize, or I'm sorry, I think the moms and their guests and the VIPs failed to realize, and the executives, that we were still in charge of 250 people coming to the show.
Yeah.
And yes, the VIPs meant something. Everybody meant something, but the VIPs were always going to be there. It was the same people.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to Julie's family.
Yeah.
And Julie's family was super nice. They were super VIP because, of course, you're not going to tell Julie Chen that her parents have to go park in the parking structure.
Now that I could understand, rolling out the red carpet for her.
Oh,
family.
it was
Absolutely.
rolled out, roses, you name it. Julie's family had a special parking spot behind the stage. Julie would bring them in, or the host assistant would bring them in. They would be pre-sat. They would be there. Like, it was wild. Like, and listen, they were nice. I think I spoke to her father like maybe 2 words in the entire time that I was there, and it was quite a few years.
Yeah.
Not that they weren't, social, or not that they were mean. They just didn't really speak very much.
Just
And
quiet family.
Julie would have them there in the front row, which, oh God, our directors, because the demographic, they stuck out like a sore thumb because they were not the demographic.
Yeah, I would expect the host to always point out, oh, hey, my parents are here in the audience to explain why there's, older folk right in front. Then it would highlight, oh, that's so lovely. She's family oriented, kind of humanizes her a little bit, shows she still loves her mom and dad, something like that.
Well, that's a great point and a great question. So here's wherein lies the issue. Once our audience members, who were professional audience members, again, this will be a whole new episode on its own, but I will refer to them as the professional audience members because they went from show to show gathering assets, if you will, reselling them tax-free. Why not, right? Until I came into the picture and we started to moderate and make it fair. And then all hell broke loose. But we can talk more about that later.
Then you were hated.
I was hated. But don't you think for one second that those people minded their own business. They did not mind their business at all. They would sit there and watch when we'd see them, and during commercials they would offer their food. They would be so nice. Oh, you're Leah's mom. Oh,
Wow.
oh, you're Holly's mom. Right? My own mother, she's like, don't tell them I'm your mother. And I said, don't you dare tell them, because I only knew, right? So my mom would listen and they would talk shit and they would say things. And my mom would be like, what happened with that lady? She was so mad at you, but you sat her in like the back row, right? And I go, oh, that. And we would share stories. And she goes, I don't tell them that you're my mother. They eventually figured it out. A few of them did, right? Because they're so nosy.
Oh, yeah.
So like when you're checking in, they're listening. So they would hear the last name.
Exactly what your mom was doing.
Yeah, they would hear the last name, and then they'd be like, "Oh, maybe this is Danny's mom. Is that your mom?" Right? And of course, listen, you want to be proud of your mom. You're like, "Oh my God, this is my mom." I would have loved to have introduced my mom to everybody.
Yeah.
Right? And then Sharon one day, even her hair and makeup was so nice. I told her, "Oh, my mom's in the audience." I never asked.
Yeah.
For that meet and greet at all whatsoever, and he so graciously. Mrs. O came down, said hello to my mom. We took photos backstage. My mom got to meet everybody.
That's awesome.
Which that was very, very cool. Then when we brought Bama,
Oh,
Cheryl.
that's nice.
Cheryl was, I think it was Elton John, Auntie Susie. They all got a chance to meet Cheryl.
Wow.
So it was really, really neat. Bama got a chance to see Elton John live.
Nice.
She's still on video there, bebopping around. It's on my Facebook.
I would have loved to have met Sharon. I never got the chance, but I was sitting in the audience with your mom one show, and Holly Robinson Pete came up to your mom, and because she was kind of tall, and we were sitting in that pit, and your mom's talking to me, and I'm looking at her. So to give you a visual, my aunt is sitting on my right, I'm on her left, and I'm looking at her, she's looking at me, and I just see Holly walk up, and I'm like trying to talk to your mom, and I keep like looking away, up and back, up, and I go. And then I see Holly, and she's trying to get your mom's attention, and I go, sis. And she's like, what? I was like, look up. And then she's like, oh, hi. And Holly Robinson Pete came to say hello to your mom.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't remember. That might have been the
I
first
didn't know
or second
that.
time. Yeah.
And here I am talking shit about Holly. Aw, that's nice.
Yeah, I remember that. She's like, oh,
Maybe
are you
Holly,
Danny's mom?
Maybe Holly did like me. Oh, God. I feel so bad. I'm a horrible person.
Maybe she heard how you checked Dolores, and she's like, I wish I could do that.
Oh, my goodness. That's so nice. That's sweet. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
I actually did not know that. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Holly, we love you. How quickly I changed. How quickly I changed, right? How quickly I fucking changed.
Oh, man. That's
you know what?
good.
God bless her heart. Bless her heart.
But I remember your mom was like shocked. I didn't think she knew who I was. I gotta tell. I thought she told you. You know what? She probably told you, and in your
and
old
I
age
don't
you
remember.
forgot. Yeah.
Honestly, like there's so many things that I just kind of like. Once I've healed from them, I let them go,
Yeah.
and that might have been one of them or those moments.
I mean, it was season 1 because she wasn't in there for season 2.
Yeah,
so.
she wasn't in there for
Yeah.
season 2. Oh God,
That's how long ago. Wow, I've been going to the show for a long time.
Yeah, it's because I think they're like in their 13th year or something like that. That's it's a long time. I was there for almost 9. Yeah, that's a long time. Yeah, and so back to Julie and her family. So of course Julie's family was golden, and so they got whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
If they wanted to eat and take a shit in the front row,
They got
that opportunity. They were totally graciously allowed carte blanche no matter what.
Yeah.
And I understood that. I got that. And Julie was always like, thank you for taking care of my parents. She always said thank you.
Oh, wow,
I will
nice.
say that. I make jokes about Julie that she was all business and a robot. Yes, she was. But putting all that aside, she definitely always thanked me. And even Moonves, like when we took the show to New Orleans and I had to, give him a seat, he's like, I don't want to sit in front, Danny. And I was like, oh shit, he knows my name? Oh my God.
Well, you did play the most practical prank on the head of the studio
You
all
better
time.
never forget me. You better never forget me. And he said, thank you so much for taking care of us, Danny. Like he kept saying my name. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
And that was actually really cool. And he was there, and David will know because David loves football. That was in New Orleans, and Moonves was with the owner of the Dallas Cowboys and the owner of the Patriots.
Oh, wow. The Cowboys owner, his name is Jerry something.
Yeah, and then the Patriots is...
I have no idea.
so the three, and David goes, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
He goes, those 3 men sitting right there are worth billions.
Oh, yeah.
And then you really don't think about it. You're like, that's so crazy.
They have
But,
numbers over their heads.
Yeah, but going back to the moms, I keep going sidetrack. So then, who else do we have left to talk about? Whose other moms are there?
That's it. I think you ran through them all.
Did you all of them? We did Holly, Leah, we did Sarah, we did Julie, and who was the 5th person?
Sharon? But Sharon's
Oh
parents.
yeah, we talked. Did we talk about Sharon? We talked about Sharon.
No, but I mean, she only had her kids.
Yeah,
and her entourage.
Sharon had VIPs. Sharon's VIPs were extra in New York.
Oh.
Like I met really great people that were like on the verge of crazy. You know what I mean? Like I had an older lady who I still don't remember. She gave me her phone number and she's like, if you're ever in town, Danny, please reach out. Like the moms always loved me. Like all of the people, for the most part, it's just the staff that hated me.
Yeah.
I always was able to kind of get in better with the people that were below the line and the people that were above the line. And to be honest, it was because I just didn't really have a lot of respect for them. Because at the end of the day, here was a group of people that had access to so many different platforms to change the world. And maybe in your mind, you're thinking, well, it's just Sarah Gilbert and it's just Sharon Osbourne. Sharon had platforms. I think I was always a little upset with Sarah, because here was someone who was making a buttload of money just sitting there, and it was like watching paint dry. And here she was in my community, and she didn't really do anything to help the community. And I know that's being super judgy. I totally get that. But here was someone who I thought that I would connect with, and I never did.
You never did.
I never did. I never got her quirky, weird energy. Her partner at the time, I met her once, but then when she finally got with Linda Perry, oh man, Linda and I would go back and forth all the time. Linda Perry's amazing.
I love Linda Perry.
Linda Perry is, for being, in my mind, I think an extreme celebrity because she's written so many songs. She's worked with Christina Aguilera. I mean, her songs, she also had her own song with the Four Non Blondes and all that. And to be able to talk to and joke and talk shit with Linda Perry was probably a really amazing highlight for me.
That's cool.
And those are the moments that I enjoy.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed those moments where celebrities let their guard down and they're able to be real with me.
They're just, normal folks.
Normal people. And that's one thing. Linda Perry was always real.
That's cool. But she's also an artist, too. It's a little bit different, in my opinion.
You think
when
so?
Yeah, especially when you're like a talk show host or celebrity. I think when you're an artist, because you're an emotional person, automatically, you do kind of want to connect with people like that. As opposed to a comedian or celebrity, you kind of just want to be left alone. And to kind of defend Sarah a little bit, even though I don't know her, I can only imagine that you don't know what she's gone through being a child celebrity and how many people have wanted something from her.
Yeah.
And they just kind of keep their distance because they don't know who they can trust. I mean, you said it yourself. Nobody in Hollywood is your friend.
That's fair. That's totally fair. But I guess in my mind, I don't want anything from them.
Yeah.
I never did.
But they don't know that.
Correct.
Because, they don't know you. And they've
Yeah.
seen probably somebody similar to you who did want something or who was bubbly and took hold of a room, and they're like, I don't know what that guy's about, and I'm not willing to find out. But for the ones who do, those are the ones that are like, oh, I love Danny. That guy's cool. He's great. Because they know after get to know you, you don't want anything.
Yeah.
And that's the best part.
That is the best part. I don't want anything from those damn people. So with all the other moms, I'm trying to think like who else, like even like we're just talking about season 1.
Yeah.
So
We'll go down the rest of the as the host changed and how that affected the show. And
it was like the Wheel of Fortune. Spin the wheel and figure out who your host is going to be.
I mean, were you there when they hired what's her face?
Ooh.
Eve?
Yes.
Oh my god! And that was a choice I never.
Well, you're
understood.
jumping ahead in the
Oh,
story,
absolutely,
but
but
I
that's
have
the
a
last
story
one I
about
remember.
Eve too. I never got close to her because she was just there was not a lot of good energy there.
I could imagine.
But anyways, I don't want to give out too much. We're giving out too much. We're giving out too much, and we're going too far. And so I think we need to explain quite a few things.
Yes.
First and foremost, this is the third time that we have tried.
Hold on. 2.5 because we
Okay,
didn't really
2.5.
do a full episode.
2.5. Okay, well, listen. When life hits you hard. Your car went out. My car needed to go in. We were at the mercy of your cousin
Yes.
driving us all around to go get my car fixed. You're waiting for insurance. There's all these different little ingredients that were not a part of the soup. Okay, and we're trying to make a meal right now.
Yes.
So let's rewind back. So you're probably wondering. I know that we
did touch a little bit.
We did touch a little
of
bit.
what happened. We made a joke out of it.
We made a joke out of it. Louis did. Louis made a joke out of the fact that when we tried to record an episode, our phones overheated.
Which was true.
Which was true. And then I think just to recap, we explained about I love being outside, yada, yada, yada. Now, we tried to record a second episode and release audio and video together for Wednesday.
Correct.
Right? During that process,
Your phone went out.
my phone died.
Now, so everybody knows he has an older iPhone 11.
It's an 11!
And I have the 14.
Oh, shit. And the 15 came out this week.
The 15 legitimately came out today. So it's Danny's job now to go buy a 15 so that next week we can give you a complete video.
I'm gonna start a GoFundMe. I'm gonna become a millennial. I'm gonna start a GoFundMe and cry and be like, I need an iPhone. Oh my god, I'm not gonna pay all that money for a freaking phone. Anyways, so moving forward, so then my phone went out, so I had to run to my car to charge my phone for a little bit to see if we had gotten the video.
Yeah, we were under the impression that we would have something because
Correct.
my phone was still recording. The board was still recording, so
Yes.
it wasn't the heat this time.
No, it was not the heat.
It was not.
It was my dirty iPhone 11. So I get in my car. I turn the car on. By the way, it was hot in my car, and I'm like, ugh. So I'm sitting there. My butt is burning on the leather seat. It's just like, it's too much. And I plug my phone in, and it immediately quickly kicked on.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, great. So I flip through, and I'm looking, and I find photos. And when I clicked on photos, I noticed that there was the last photo that I took, which is a screenshot for a recipe, right? And I go, that's kind of weird. Maybe it's in videos. So I went to videos, and the last video I took was Linda and I having dinner, and it wasn't there. There was nothing there. So when my power cut out of my iPhone 11, it didn't save anything.
It didn't save
Which is so weird. I never heard of that. Like I would have thunk in my mind it would have treated it like a recording, number one, and
Yes.
when either the power or whatever went out, because when our phones overheated, it kept the video.
That is true, but when I grabbed our phones, even though they had shut off, they were reset. So they were still on,
Oh.
but
Oh.
they weren't recording.
They weren't active because they were
Yes.
too hot. Oh Lord.
So-
Apple,
so
is it
when
time
you-
for Android?
When you killed the board and you killed the audio, your phone, because it wasn't fully charged or whatever because it had died. And because it's old, it didn't save the video before shutting down.
Oh my God.
And we lost everything. So that was 2 days in a row full of episodes. And it's been a rough 2 days.
So then now come fast forward to today, so now we did 2 full shows.
Yes. The same show. By
The
the
same
way.
show. And so it's the same story. So forgive me if when I'm telling those stories, it sounds boring and bland and a dash of just distasteful, because at that point I was just, oh my God, I'm going to say this. And I tried to change it.
Yes.
I tried to change it so
Yes.
that it would be a little bit different. I tried to change it in terms of like the topics that we spoke about. But I feel like we just threw 2 shows down the drain. So now we're wrapping it up. So we want to say thank you so much. Thank you for listening. We're so sorry that this week is very Frankenstein. But next week, we'll be coming back to you with a non-Frankenstein show.
Hopefully.
Even though it is Halloween. But with all that being said, thank you so much for always supporting us. We really do appreciate it. And please always remember to do it like Danny.